Sunshine and Laughter, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction written and narrated by Mira Rose. This lovely artwork is by It's Maggie on Instagram. You can find a link to the artist in the description box below. Don't forget to go give them lots of love because their art deserves it, and it's what inspired this fanfiction. Now then, if you've never been to this channel before, I, Mira, narrate fanfictions in an audiobook format. This is for people who just, prefer listening to audiobooks, or who want to listen to fanfiction as they drive, or clean their room, or help them focus, or people who have English as their second language, or are dyslexic. There's a myriad of reasons why people might enjoy this format, and I hope you do too. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on the latest parts of your favorite fanfiction, and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Bonus points if you leave a comment. If you aren't sure what to comment, put Plag loves cheese. Now then, please enjoy Sunshine and Laughter. Adrien aggressed, post-hawk moth. Oh, Kwamis and everything magical in this world. If only he could work up the courage to tell her. Yeah, see you at 3, Adrien said into his phone, making sure the last of the camembert was packed. Are you finally going to ask her? Plag asked, resurfacing only to observe the amount of cheese he packed. Out? No, of course not. His heart beat like a percussionist with a new mallet. No, she's still recovering. Of course I'm not going to ask her out. That would ruin what we have. I'm not talking about your gross love story. I'm talking about opening a cheese shop together. I heard Leon's is under new management. Adrian furrowed his eyebrows. I thought he opened an ice cream parlor inside. I'm just saying, you're rich, she's a good partner. Why not make an offer he can't refuse? Rolling off Plag's poorly disguised intentions, Adrian turned back to his selection. Sure, his sandwiches didn't look great, but surely Marinette wouldn't judge him too harshly for it. If anything, it was the bread choice that mattered, and he made sure to get a loaf from the Dupang Chang bakery, so it should be fine. At the very least, she won't hate it. His heart pounded wildly. 3 months. It'd been 3 months since Mira said she couldn't stand seeing the man she loved twisted into a man with a desperate goal, and the cost was too great. And she helped them get his Miraculous. Ladybug had relinquished her position as guardian to someone who knew how to fix the Peacock Miraculous, leaving her memories muddled. Part of her was still 13, while other bits were his bright and cheery classmate, but so many memories of herself, of Ladybug, were gone. So Adrien helped her through it. As her partner, not potential love interest, Adrien took it upon himself to help her transition with the memory caps and late-night tears, but not because he wanted to date her. In reality, she started out with the same negative impression of him as she first had when they met years ago once the title of Guardian was given up. You're really gonna give me back? Tiki piped up, sitting on his computer monitor. Adrien convinced the new guardian he'd find another ladybug. There was no imminent threat, and he hoped there never would be, but he argued that as long as the Cat Noir ring had an owner, it was only right the ladybug earrings did too. And he'd listened. The guardian had listened, and today was the day to give Marinette her earrings back. Yeah, he said, reaching into his picnic basket and tossing her a cookie. I can't think of anyone better, you know? Tiki smiled in response, soothing his anxiety a bit. This whole thing had been hard on him, They still had no idea who Hawkmoth was, and his feelings for Ladybug, Marinette, were still wild, and he yearned for her like never before. Who would have thought knowing who she was would be harder than not? Tousling his hair another time, Adrian left his house, giving his father a wave as he passed by his office. He'd been extra grumpy ever since Natalie went on vacation. Paris smelled as wretched as ever, but he couldn't tell over the taste of anxiety on his tongue. He secured his grip on the bag and made his way to the park, surprised to find Marinette there already. Camembert. She's gorgeous. Hey, he called out, catching her attention away from the book she was reading. Oh, hey, she smiled back, closing the red-covered book and smiling. Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin? Must be the book she was looking forward to. I didn't realize I was late. And here I thought I was early. She eyed the picnic basket with intrigue. Are you ready for me to judge your sandwich-making skills? Well, She opened the basket before he could begin his sentence. Cookies? Marinette lifted 3 bags of snickerdoodles out, clearly confused, when her eyes landed on the box with the ladybug earrings. And jewelry? She looked up, an eyebrow raised with a teasing smile. Yours. He cleared his throat, unsure how to tell her there was the equivalent of a magical deity in there. A gift? Returning. Something from when I was Ladybug? He winced as she said it, noticing how foreign the title sounded on her tongue. You'll see. She opened the box and, of course, Tiki popped out, flying onto her cheek for a long, belated embrace. Ah! Marinette screamed. A bug! She slapped her cheek hard enough to leave a welt, Tiki just barely dodging out of the way. I'm not a bug! Tiki exclaimed. Why is that always your first impression? Always my first impression? Marinette stuttered. Yeah, you're 2 for 2, Marinette. You know my name? Adrien could see the hurt in Tiki's eyes, but she didn't let it show in her demeanor. Nice to meet you, Marinette. I'm Tiki, and we're going to be best friends. But you're a bug. Tiki flattened her antennas. I'm the one you poured your heart to over your first crush. My first crush? She echoed. The irony is crushing. Marinette knitted her eyebrows together, extending her hand as a tentative olive branch. Will you tell me about it? Everyone else won't. Tiki shifted her gaze to Adrian, as though asking permission. He shrugged. It's not like he knew who she liked. They were never close enough friends for her to tell him. It certainly wasn't Cat Noir, he said. You made that obvious. Marinette gave him an oops smile and turned her attention back to Tiki. So, what's your name again, little bug? I call her Sugar Cube, Plag yelled from the basket. Plag! Adrian scolded, now noticing more than half the cheese wrappers were open. What? He burped. Oh! Ugh! Adrian covered his nose as Tiki grimaced. Marinette, however, laughed. Tiki! And like Plag, I'm a Kwami, Tiki said, turning her attention back to her partner. Marinette's face was the definition of radiating warmness as they shook hand to finger. Nice to re-meet you, she said. Adrian wasn't sure what to do next, so he unfurled the pusheen blanket he'd gotten in the last subscription box and dumped the contents of the basket, Plag included, onto it. And then they laughed. They laughed as Tiki told stories about their partnership, Marinette listening intently with honey eyes, Sticky for more sweet stories about the adventures she felt second party to. They laughed as Plag and Tiki got into a spat that resulted in her chasing him around the park trying to retrieve the piece of cheese he'd stolen from Marinette's sandwich. They laughed over a foolhardy pun Adrian made as they rolled onto their backs, caressed by grass and sunshine with full bellies. And he laughed when she rolled onto her side, eyes meeting his, and asked him about the rumor that Cat Noir was in love with Ladybug. Except, well, that laugh didn't match the others. The sunshine on his back no longer warmed him as a chill of uncertainty licked his spine. Adrian couldn't bring himself to keep looking in her eyes. What were we? Her voice was sweet, a hummingbird's poison as his heart fluttered. Partners, he said, clearing his throat. We were partners. I know that, silly. I meant Marinette and Adrian. We were classmates, right? Were we friends? Regret squeezed his heart. Yeah, we were. You were a very... His voice broke. Important friend. Her smile didn't change. Good. Yeah, it was good. He was able to meet her eyes again. Did I ever have a crush on you? She asked. Did you ever what? Adrian bolted upright, his palm crushing the grass and dirt together. Have a crush on you. Her face held innocence, unaware of the power he could seize from that question if he decided to lie. Except, well, he didn't even have time to debate lying, because Tiki snorted. Sorry, the Kwame said. Please, continue. Wait, really? Marinette grabbed her, sitting up. Does that mean I did, or I didn't? You'd kill me if I said anything. Marinette narrowed her eyes. Well, it's pretty clear I didn't like Cat Noir. Ouch. Okay. And you said I told you all about my first crush. So who? Tiki sighed, floating up to her ear. Marinette smiled at what she said. Well, clearly I've got taste. Oh? A celebrity crush? Adrian asked, trying to lighten the burden on his shoulders. I sure hope I didn't like you because you were a celebrity. Wait, what? I'm sorry? Adrian had to clarify. Well, you are a celebrity, and a double dipper at that. You're saying you had a apparently, she shrugged. Wow. I'm the king of timing. She lifted her eyebrows. So, you don't like me now? How? How had this conversation happened? How? Is this a trap? Marinette and Tiki exchanged glances and a laugh. It's nice to see you aren't crippled by your feelings for him, Tiki remarked. Feelings for me? Had she hated him or something? Thanks for taking me on this date, Cat. Her smile ate his attention as her words ate his heart. Camembert. Master Nod, he was whipped. A date? Sure, he'd like to think of these outings as her with dates, but he'd never allowed himself to do so. Yeah. Her eyes lingered on his and he swallowed. Camembert and Swiss! Are you gonna kiss each other or what? Plag groaned, downing his sentence with another cube of cheese. Tiki tackled him, smacking him upside the head so hard that the unchewed gloop fell out. Cool! He exclaimed. I get to eat it twice. Can you do that again? The group, excluding the cheese connoisseur, exchanged glances, paired with wrinkled noses. Anyway, Marinette began again. Is this a date? Do you want it to be? Adrien couldn't tell if luck was on his side or his ring was leading him to the emotional equivalent of spoiled camembert. She looked away and thought, it's kind of lackluster if we decide it is after we've already started. Oh. If he were suited up, his ears would have sagged to match his shoulders. But I wouldn't say no if you planned one. Huh? Or not? Marinette hid her face behind her hands, a crude attempt to mask her pink cheeks. Pink cheeks? Did Marinette? Tomorrow afternoon? He asked, leaning forward. Or tonight, at the cinema. We could go. He leaned back, catching himself. Unless that's, too soon, that is. Yeah. Whatever. It's whatever. Adrien cleared his throat. What would you like? Time-wise. But activity too. I won't ask you to do something you don't like, of course. His cheeks burned as she stifled a giggle. You must have forgotten sunscreen, she remarked. Huh? He asked, fanning himself by hand. You're turning red. Must be all the sunshine. I'm coming after your brand, LB, he smirked, his face freezing when he realized what he said. He hadn't called her that since she was the guardian. Marinette leaned forward and bopped him on the nose. Alia says Ladybug, used to flick that bell of yours all the time as Ladybug. This is a close second, don't you think? Are you serious? I'm sorry? Is it that bad of an alternative? Her eyes widened. Of going on a date? Do you... He reached his hand out, brushing her fingers. Would you like to? She smiled. Pretty and perfect. I can't honestly say I like you, Adrian. But apparently I did before. And it seems like whoever I was had good taste. Adrien blinked a few times. You liked me. He had to take his thought around the block another time. Apparently, she shrugged. Tiki let out an exasperated sigh, nodding. You have no idea, the Kwame remarked, taking a bite of cookie so she didn't have to follow up. Adrien got lost in thought for a moment, muttering to himself. Not Adrian. That sounds weird. What was that? Marinette asked. He felt his blush intensify. Sorry. What's up? Well, this was embarrassing. I was trying out ship names. Each word got softer as he spoke, an embarrassed decrescendo. Ship names? So, like, as partners, people had the hashtag Lady Noir. Oh. He could tell it clicked. So, like, Adrienette? Wait, that was actually pretty good. Better than Adrian. I'll say. She laughed. Are you really planning couple names before our first date? Oops. Can I cut my losses here and pick you up at 6? Sure. She reached her arm up as he stood. But I'd appreciate a hand right now. Their skin touched like lightning, a defibrillator for his chest as his heart couldn't decide on a rhythm. Sure. Great. She folded the blanket and put it in the basket, taking it with her as she walked down the hill with Tiki. Wait, that's my... Adrian began. You can pick it up tonight at 6, she called back. Wow. Okay. This cheeky move was Ladybug's style, and he couldn't get enough. As sweet as he'd learned Marinette could be, the sassiness added an intoxicating dynamic. Punching the air for a victory pose, Adrian couldn't wipe the grin off his face on the walk back home. He'd done it. He'd done it! Sure, it was mostly her idea, but he had a date with the girl, no, woman, he loved for the first time ever. Trying on outfit after outfit, Adrian found himself giddy like a shoujo heroine. A date! A date! Sweet, sweet validation. Now all he had to do was not mess this up. Giving his hair one last tousle, Adrian stepped out, leaving for his date. Their date. The best date. Yeah. Adrian left for his Adrienette date. Thank you so much for listening. If you've made it this far, comment an Adrienette date in the comments section to help that YouTube algorithm. And of course, don't forget to not only smash that like button, but also subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't already. I mean, if you've made it to the end of this video, I would say you'll probably like other videos on this channel. Just a thought. Anyway, I will catch you in the next one. Bye!